Hey guys, Christian here. Welcome back to another video. I know, the hair, the facial hair. Quarantine, I can't do anything about it. Anyways, today's video is going to be a little bit differently. It's not like a traditional list video where I just kind of do a ton of research, put it all together, and then present it to you guys. This one's going to be more off the top of my head based on my experience. And since I've owned my E93 BMW 335i for a little bit over 5 years, I think I got the right experience to give you guys some advice. There are 5 things you shouldn't do immediately after you purchase a BMW 335i. This goes for those that just purchased one and for those that are in the market to buy one. If you want to have a really good time with your car and you don't want a lot of headaches, well, keep on watching. The first thing you shouldn't do after purchasing a BMW 335i is focus on performance before you focus on maintenance. Preventative maintenance is one of the most important things that you can do pretty much on any car, especially the BMW 335i and especially the one with the N54 engine. It's no secret that these engines are freaking awesome and they can handle a lot of horsepower, but they also have their weak points. Just to name a few: leaky injectors, high pressure fuel pump, the water pump, oil filter housing gasket, valve cover gasket, oil pan gasket, wastegate rattle, boost leaks, fragile coolant lines, plastic charge pipe bursting under boost. Yeah, so you get the point. Too many times I've seen people just purchase a high mileage BMW 335i. Yeah, that's right, not just a 335i, a high mileage one, and the very first thing they try to do is full bolt-ons and a tune, and then they wonder why it's so unreliable. I just bought a 335i with 150,000 miles and I have about $1,000 left over to do whatever I want to do with it. Should I go full bolt-ons with MHD and make the car way more fun, or do I go the boring route and change out the gaskets and the water pump and change the spark plugs with the coils? Nah, I don't got time for that. MHD full bolt-ons, baby. That should never be the route that you take. Sure, it might be fun. You do it for 2-3 weeks, you're doing a couple of pulls, man, it's great, life is awesome. And then all of a sudden, you got a misfire, you got a boost leak, you got a drivetrain malfunction, lit mode, throttle response is non-existent, and then you're private messaging me on Instagram saying that I influenced your decision and it's all my fault that they're now stuck with the money pig. Come on. Guys, listen. Maintenance first, then performance mods. Maintenance, performance mods. Maintenance, performance mods. Trust me, it's worth it. Let's say the maintenance part is about $1,500, even $2,000. It's worth it. Spend the money if you have it, save it, and once you actually tune the car and you add the modifications, you'll get more seat time. You're going to enjoy it much better, and you won't have that thought at the back of your head that every time I floor it, that car might break down. You don't want to go through that. It's very stressful. I recently took my car to PSI, Precision Sport Industries, here in the Orlando area, and they did a complete engine out maintenance routine where they refreshed the motors and then they swapped out the turbos for some upgraded ones. And ever since I did that, I have this peace of mind that I've never had before. I can go for a spirited drive, I can floor the car with zero worries, knowing that nothing's gonna happen since everything's been addressed, all the weak points that is. And even if it takes you a long time to get to the phase where you start adding performance to the car, is well worth it. It's better to be patient than impatient, and then you end up with a freaking car that you either have to sell because you can't afford to fix it, or you let it sit there doing nothing in the garage while you're on forums talking about how crap this car is. And when I'm talking about performance, I'm not only referring to like the engine aspect of it, but also the suspension. I've seen way too many times, again, to reference a high mileage 335i, the first thing they want to do is put some wheels, lower it, and then the car rides like absolute shit. Well, that can be because the control arms are screwed, the ball joints are torn, the bushings are shot, the steering rack is out of whack, the shocks are bottomed out. And here's the thing, you get bigger wheels, you decrease the width of the tire, you lower the car, so you put pressure on the suspension components that are already screwed up. Yeah, your car's gonna ride like shit. Trust me, I know this, and that's why I'm telling you guys. So yeah, before you decide to stance out your BMW, make sure you take care of all the boring suspension stuff first. That way, if you have the proper setup, you actually get a performance boost instead of feeling like you're riding on a kangaroo. Been there, done that. The second thing you shouldn't do if you buy a 335i is launching from a standstill, or a dig as some call it. This especially applies to the automatic transmission, which is what I have equipped on my E93. Yes, the ZF automatic transmission is very strong and it can hold a lot of power. I have a buddy of mine that's pushing about 700 horsepower to the wheel, and about 580 torque, and his automatic transmission still runs like it's new. But there's a reason for that, because he doesn't launch from a standstill, at least not excessively. He does a lot of roll and pulls, which is what I like to do. I think I've only launched my car from a dig like 6 times in total, 4 times before I even had a tune on my car and twice after getting a tune. I tend to stay away from that because the N54, well, the N55 as well, but the N54, because of the twin turbo setup, it generates all that torque right up front at the lower part of the RPM curve, and it's all that power to the automatic transmission, and it's just not good. And I'm talking about even if you don't get a tune, it's just not good. And for those of you guys that own a manual 335i, or you're looking to buy a manual one versus the automatic transmission, I wouldn't recommend launching excessively from a dig as well, especially if you haven't upgraded the clutch and reinforced the rest of the suspension with upgraded parts, because you can blow through an axle as well. Especially if you're looking to go full bolt-ons and upgrade the turbo system, all that power is just not very kind in the suspension, and the repairs are going to rack up very, very fast. I tend to do my rolling pulls from like second gear, mostly third gear at like 3500 RPM. Second gear as well. First gear is completely useless because you go through it so fast, it's not even worth it. But yeah, second, preferably third gear. Let me tell you guys, over the last 5 years, I've done a lot of rolling pulls with the automatic transmission, and it still runs like new. It doesn't slip. Actually, it's never slipped. So yeah, it also helps if you have a transmission tune as well, like the Alpina Flash, or you can use the one that I use, which is XHP. They have a stage 1, 2, and 3. 3 being the most aggressive. It shifts very, very fast, almost like a dual clutch transmission. And then 1 being much faster than stock, but still being very comfortable during daily commutes. Also, one thing that relates to launching the car is launching it properly, whether you're doing it from a dig or from a roll. You want to make sure that you launch properly, and what I mean is you build the right amount of boost. If you want to launch a 335i from a dig, which again I do not recommend, well, you just hold down the brake, hit the gas until you're about 3000 RPM, let go, wide open throttle, and there you go. That's a good launch. Don't from just a standstill, just wide open throttle on the gas without building boost. That is very bad for the engine. Don't do it, not on a turbo engine. You want to build boost first, then go. The third thing you shouldn't do when you purchase a 335i, and this one is very important, is not respecting the car. You see, this is a very powerful car, and over the years it's depreciated a lot, meaning it's widely available to younger buyers at a very cheap price. When I first purchased my E93 about 5 years ago, I paid $25,000 out the door. That was with 30,000 miles. And now you can get these cars for like $5,000 pretty much. Here's the thing, it's a very powerful car, 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque stock, and then it's relatively affordable. And guess who's attracted to it? The younger buyers, because it's affordable and it's powerful, cheap power. And that young person buying this car might be the first time driving a rear-wheel drive car with that much torque right up front. And all it takes is for you to turn the corner, hit the gas, and all of a sudden you lose control, and then you become a meme. Guys, even with traction control on, this car can get really unpredictable under full throttle. There's a reason these cars end up at Copart and other salvage auction lots all over the country. You get these young people that get in these very powerful car, go full send, they don't take step by step to learn a little bit about the car gets totaled, it's very expensive nightmare, and even worse, they get hurt. So yeah, respect the car, it's very powerful. You can go out there and hurt yourself and hurt other ones if you're stupid about it. Just get a feel for the car, take your time, take baby steps, and I promise you, you're gonna have a much better experience in the long run. Oh yeah, and let's say you get into a small accident with a 335i. It doesn't look like much, it's a fender bender with a little bit of the front bumper. Insurance might actually total it because one, the car is not really worth that much anymore, and also the parts to replace on the car are very, very expensive. So then all of a sudden they total the car, issue you a check that's worth nothing, and guess what? You're out of a car. So yeah, guys, if you've never driven a car like this, or you're inexperienced or whatever it is, take your time, respect the car. The fourth thing you shouldn't do when you purchase a BMW 335i is take it immediately to the dealer whenever it needs service or repairs. That's a big no-no. Replacement parts at the dealership are extremely expensive. The service there is also extremely expensive. And then once you get there, they try to tack on all this extra stuff that you may not need, but you don't know if you need because you're relying on the experts there. What I'm about to say, I've already said before, but for those of you guys that are new to the channel, I want to go ahead and share a story with you guys. Years ago, when I first purchased my 335i, shortly after that, like a few months, I took the car over to the BMW dealership because I was getting misfires. The car was was shaking, I had long crank times. It was a scary situation for me at the time. I wasn't really mechanically inclined at the time and I didn't know too much about the car, so I took it to the dealer hoping that they could address the issue and it would be solved. Get this, the techs at the time told me that I had 3 injectors that were bad, and because they were newer model injectors they had to replace it with, they would have to replace all 6 because they didn't want to mix and match them. And guys, $4,200 to $4,300 to get new injectors and have them replaced by BMW. The parts alone are like $1,200 to $1,300, so they were charging me about $3 grand in labor. I left the dealership with my shaky 335i. I refused the service that they were trying to do because it was crazy ridiculous. I decided to do like the trial and error process and the process of elimination, starting from the cheapest possible thing I could do to the car to the most expensive, so I can get the car to run right. I first purchased fuel injection cleaner. That didn't do anything, and then I decided to go to the next step and change the spark plugs and the coils. It was a very easy job to do and it wasn't that expensive. And guess what, guys? My car was fixed, no shaky, no long cranks, no misfires. I drove the car for the next 4 years, aggressively at that, and guess what? I didn't have to change my injectors. So yeah, I paid less than $300 and I got to fix the car and it was running lovely, and I got away from a $4,200 bill. That's why I'm telling you guys, do not take your car to the BMW dealership unless you have an excessive amount of money to blow. It's just not worth it. It makes me sick how many people go over there, they tell them exactly what they have to do, they tack on all this stuff and they just pay. They don't even argue back because that's the expert, they trust the expert. Guys, get a second opinion, go to a credible private shop that specializes on BMW, and I'm sure you're gonna save a lot more money doing it that way. Like I said before, I take my car to PSI. Those guys are very knowledgeable and they tackle some very big projects there, and for that reason I trust them with my car. And if you're a DIY type of guy and you like to work on your own cars and you want to buy the parts to fix your car, to modify your car, do not go to the dealership to buy the parts. Just go to websites like ECS Tuning or FCP Euro. They're both excellent websites. I use both of them. That's what I would recommend. The pricing is much better, almost like 40% less than what the dealer charges you. I don't know if you guys got to watch the video where I replaced the molding pieces on my convertible top, the rails and the clips and all that. I first inquired about the pricing at the BMW dealership. They were quoting me about $960 for that. And then I ended up purchasing them half at FCP Euro and half at ECS Tuning, and I only paid $620. So I saved $300 from buying them online versus the dealer. When you find a really good, credible shop in your area, it's just a better experience. They treat you better, the communication is normally better, the prices are cheaper, and they're more transparent because they want you to keep coming back. The fifth and final thing you shouldn't do when you purchase a BMW 335i is cheaping out on replacement parts. Guys, treat a BMW like a BMW. You're gonna have a far better experience. It's gonna last you longer. And I'm not really referring to exterior mods because you can kind of go cheap with those parts sometimes and the car still looks pretty good. I mean, just look at the N Sport lip in front of my 335i. I get so many messages asking me what kind of lip that is. It's literally a $60 lip from eBay, and it transforms the entire front bumper to make it look a little more aggressive. What I'm referring to when I'm saying do not go cheap on replacement parts, I'm talking about tires, brakes, lines, charge pipe, plugs, coils. Guys, this is BMW, the ultimate driving machine, and you want it to ride like the ultimate driving machine. There's so many things wrong with cheaping out on replacement parts for these type of cars. You're gonna pay the price later on. Sure, you might save some money right now, but it's gonna be much more expensive later on. I mean, it can be really expensive. And the same kind of applies with used parts as well. For example, let's say you didn't want to fork up $1,300 for some Index 12 injectors for your 335i, so you decided to find them used for $500 online. I'm not really a person that's against buying stuff used, but you also don't know the history to those injectors. And let's say you decided to get the injectors. I mean, they're half the price. You put them in the car, you don't know what's going on. Maybe you're running lean, your car doesn't tell you, and boom, your engine's done. Was it really worth saving $700 or just going for the brand new injectors and have that peace of mind and be able to enjoy your car longer? Trust me, I've been that guy in the past trying to buy used parts so I don't have to pay the premium of a brand new OEM BMW part, but I've always been talked out of it by all my tech friends. They just tell me it's not worth it. Buy a brand new, that's just the best way to go. I'm telling you guys, cheaping out on one thing might ruin something that's more expensive, so don't take the chances. So yeah, if you're gonna buy a BMW, make sure you have the money to treat it like a BMW, maintain it like a BMW, or if not, it's gonna be a rough road ahead of you. In other words, treat it like a BMW, not a Civic. Well, there you have it, guys. 5 things you shouldn't do immediately after you purchase a BMW 335i. If you enjoyed it, do not click out yet. Hit that like button. It really helps out the video get suggested on the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more content in the future. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.